Welcome. In this episode, I would like to talk a little bit about the inner body. And I believe this has been mentioned previously in regards to feeling the inner life force, the inner energy of our bodies, and how this is a portal or a doorway into becoming present, a doorway into being. And as I read The Power of Now this morning, there was a passage about the inner body, and I would like to share that now. And it's something I felt it was quite important to share, something that I thought would help me, and perhaps this would also help anybody listening as well. So I'm just opening up my Kindle just to find where this section was. So this section is called Have Deep Roots Within. The key is to be in a state of permanent connectedness with your inner body, to feel it at all times. This will rapidly deepen and transform your life. The more consciousness you direct into the inner body, the higher its vibrational frequency becomes, much like a light that grows brighter as you turn up the dimmer switch, and so increase the flow of electricity. At this higher energy level, negativity cannot affect you anymore, and you tend to attract new circumstances that reflect this higher frequency. If you keep your attention in the body as much as possible, you will be anchored in the now. You won't lose yourself in the external world, and you won't lose yourself in your mind. Thoughts and emotions, fears and desires may still be there to some extent, but they won't take you over. Please examine where your attention is at this moment. You are listening to me, or you are reading these words in a book. That is the focus of your attention. You are also peripherally aware of your surroundings, other people, and so on. Furthermore, there may be some mind activity around what you are hearing or reading, some mental commentary. Yet there is no need for any of this to absorb all of your attention. See if you can be in touch with your inner body at the same time. Keep some of your attention within. Don't let it all flow out. Feel your whole body from within as a single field of energy. It is almost as if you were listening or reading with your whole body. Let this be your practice in the days and weeks to come. Do not give all your attention away to the mind and the external world. By all means, focus on what you are doing, but feel the inner body at the same time whenever possible. Stay rooted within. Then observe how this changes your state of consciousness and the quality of what you are doing. Whenever you are waiting, wherever it may be, use that time to feel the inner body. In this way, traffic jams and lines become very enjoyable. Instead of mentally projecting yourself away from the now, go more deeply into the now by going more deeply into the body. The art of inner body awareness will develop into a completely new way of living, a state of permanent connectedness with being, and will add a depth to your life that you have never known before. It is easy to stay present as the observer of your mind when you are deeply rooted within your body. No matter what happens on the outside, nothing can shake you anymore. Unless you stay present, and inhabiting your body is always an essential aspect of it, you will continue to be run by your mind. The script in your head that you learned a long time ago, the conditioning of your mind, will dictate your thinking and your behavior. You may be free of it for brief intervals, but rarely for long. This is especially true when something goes wrong or there is some loss or upset. Your conditioned reaction will then be involuntary, automatic, and predictable, fueled by the one basic emotion that underlies the mind-identified state of consciousness: fear. So when such challenges come, as they always do, make it a habit to go within at once and focus as much as you can on the inner energy field of your body. This need not take long, just a few seconds. But you need to do it the moment that the challenge presents itself. Any delay will allow a conditioned mental, emotional reaction to arise and take you over. When you focus within and feel the inner body, you immediately become still and present as you are withdrawing consciousness from the mind. If a response is required in that situation, it will come up from this deeper level. Just as the sun is infinitely brighter than a candle flame, there is infinitely more intelligence in being than in your mind. As long as you are in conscious contact with your inner body, you are like a tree that is deeply rooted in the earth, or a building with a deep and solid foundation. So that is a section from The Power of Now about the inner body, and I had come across the notion of the inner body from Eckhart's previous talks, but I found as I read this section of the book this morning, it had a more profound effect on me. And immediately I began the practice of feeling my inner body. And for those of you who may not be familiar with this inner body, I would like to just go through a brief exercise to demonstrate, and perhaps if you're able to, you can follow along as well. So if you close your eyes and lift your arm and hand so it's in the air in front of you, and then ask yourself the question, how do I know my hand is there? And without moving the hand or having your eyes closed, there's an energy that I know the hand is there because I can feel it. And this is what it is to be inside the inner body. You can feel the energy of the body, of the life force that's inside of our outer body, which is what we often refer to as who we are. We are this outer body, this is me, but really it's the inner body is who we are. That energy that pervades the whole of the universe, but that's also within our body. And so you may feel a tingling or almost an electricity, a sort of current going through, and that's the life force. And so Eckhart is saying that you can always keep some of your attention rooted in this connectedness, because it gives you a direct access to being present. And it gives you almost an anchor to remain in presence, so you can even do like a mental task, any sort of activity, and then keep, it's not always possible. Sometimes you may need all of your attention on something, but often, such as washing dishes or driving, or there's always lots of opportunities to have some of your attention anchored into the inner body. And as Eckhart mentioned in the book, it withdraws consciousness from the mind when it's not needed often there. Instead of driving the car and worrying about things in the future and this and that, it's just simply because your consciousness is in the mind, and so the mind will do as it's almost designed to do. It's designed to think, and it thinks about the past, it thinks about what's happening now, thoughts about the future. And a lot of time we may see this as unnecessary. We just get used to doing it, so we feel like we have to do it. And so, there's a line that Eckhart says that where it transforms your life, and it's really that powerful, the portal of the inner body, of remaining rooted. And you may have come across, mindfulness exercises where you're doing a body scan, or you're trying to relax parts of the body, and it's all connected, and it's just having that almost constant connection with the body. And perhaps it's a good way to see it as not as a rule that, okay, I've forgotten to connect to my body, I've got to do that. It's not something to do, to check off the list, it's actually being inside the body. And Eckhart mentioned there's a joy in that, there's an enjoyment in the lightness of being in the present moment and being anchored in the body. And it's almost developing that practice out of the joy of being, out of perhaps I can't think of a better word than desire, but we use desire for the moment, desire to be free of the mind and the thoughts. And even just doing this practice today, where I've tried to remain connected to my inner body, I find myself constantly going back into my mind and then coming back into almost remembering that, oh, I want to do the practice of being in my inner body, and you kind of almost learn how much we're rooted in our minds. And so I've learned not to be harsh on myself, not to almost criticize myself when I go back into thought, but just to be aware that, oh, I've slipped back into thinking about something, and it might be a case where the thought is valid, where this thinking is necessary. Okay, and actually I do need to think about this for a moment, but when you're finished with that, you can go back to the body. Or it may be a case of where you catch yourself thinking and you realize this thinking is useless. There's no, I'm just thinking because that's all I know, that's my habit. And you can simply withdraw the consciousness back and direct your awareness into the inner body again. Withdraw the awareness from the mind and place it in the inner body, and again you'll be returning to presence, you'll be returning to being, the natural state. And there's another line in where Eckhart mentions, I'm not sure it's in a section I just read, perhaps a prior section, where you may only be able to feel your hands and feet. And he mentions that's okay for now. And I think as you continue and deepen in this practice, that more of the body will be felt, more of the inner energy that's flowing will be felt, and it will be a oneness, the one energy flowing in your inner body. It won't just be you feel it in certain parts. As it deepens, the energy field will become more, as Eckhart uses the example of a dimmer switch, the more your attention is in the body, the more the energy will vibrate, and the more you'll feel that vibration. And he mentions how this will also affect external things that wants to be part of this higher vibration, this higher frequency. And there may be some external changes that happen because you're in this higher frequency, this higher vibration of the body that's completely missed when you're in thought. That's completely covered up when a thought comes along. And you almost feel a natural aliveness as well when your attention is in the inner body. There's a natural aliveness where I guess words can't describe it, but you're simply in being. Every moment you're in being, and there's not a moment that is missed. You're always in that state, and it's quite a big thing to say that, to constantly stay anchored in this way. And when looking at it in this point of view, saying that the life is transformed, it rings true, because you've almost completely living life in a different way. You're living from a place of beingness. You're living from every moment you're alive, and you're feeling the aliveness, versus the very turbulent surface of the mind, where there are thoughts and emotions and you're reacting and you're constantly thinking about something and feeling emotions, and in this state, emotions will be felt, emotions will arise, but you will no longer be rooted in that emotion or rooted in a thought. You will be able to simply return back to the natural state. And if attention is needed to a thought or an emotion, it will be done in a way where you're still rooted to what is in this moment. You won't be taken over, is what Eckhart says, by the emotion, where things will seem out of control and you'll just seem in in a place of reaction, almost like a pinball machine where you go from one emotion to the other and you feel that you've got no control. But by using this portal, this access point of the inner body, and being in this connected state there, then you won't get stuck to a thought or emotion. You can observe it, you can make use of it, but you are always in a place where negativity cannot approach as well. So I just wanted to share this insight, and this is what I'll be doing. Eckhart invites you in the book to, in the days and weeks, to make this your practice, and that's something for you to decide if that's something you're ready for and you'd like to do. But I find even tasting it, feeling the tingly feeling, the aliveness in my hands and my feet, it feels like there's no decision to be made. It's just, this is my natural state. There's a natural attraction to want to return to this place of lightness and of peace. So perhaps in my next episode I will, if it arises and I remember, I'll ask the question of how your practice is going in regards to connecting to your inner body, to using this as your anchor when you're doing, speaking to somebody or listening or doing an activity, that if you can still keep some of your attention in the inner body, and perhaps this is something we can do together. And I'm not on actively on social media that much, but you're welcome to send a message or a tweet. I'm often, usually I'm on Twitter. When I bring out an episode, usually I tweet a link to the episode on Twitter. I find that a little bit easier to use than some of the other social media platforms. But if you're on Twitter, then feel free to send me a tweet or a message about your progress in regards to the inner body practice. And okay, so perhaps for the next minute we can just both be in our inner body of connectedness, and we can just remain here for a few moments. And one question I ask myself when it feels like I can't connect to my inner body is, this sounds quite funny to say, but it's almost as if I pretend I've just been transformed, I've just been given this body and I'm exploring it for the first time. And sometimes that helps to allow me to feel the inner body for the first time. Because often we get so used to the body, we don't pay attention to it. It's almost, it goes under our radar because we've been with it all our lives, and so we think, okay, this is our body, this is all it is on the external level. But I find that question often takes me down a path of exploring what's missed, what's always there, that's underlying. And so I just imagine, okay, I've just been given this body, and immediately I can start to feel the energy of it. And I ask this question with my eyes closed. So, for me, you're almost forgetting the external part of the body. You're just focusing on the inner part of the body. So I've just been given this body, and okay, I can feel there's some energy energy in the hands and the arms, and you're almost for the first time exploring the energy that's there. So I'll stop talking now and maybe for a few moments we can, if you're sitting or standing or driving, walking, perhaps you can feel the inner body as you move or as you are sitting. And we can just spend a few moments here. And it may help to close your eyes when you're going into your inner body. It may help at first because it means all of your attention can be in your inner body. You won't be distracted by anything visual, or your attention won't be split with your inner body and what you see. But I find that can be helpful to feel the inner body. Because as soon as I opened my eyes, I almost felt the inner body less as I opened my eyes. I find it a bit more as I looked around. So that could be something to consider as well. Okay, I'll leave it here at this point, and I'd say that thank you for joining me for this episode, and I wish you well in your practice. I wish you well in this moment, and I will speak to you again very soon.